Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John, and I am riding dirty this morning if I don't spill it. And if you know what I'm talking about, that means you've been here for a while, and I appreciate you being here for so long. How are y'all doing? Let's jump straight into it, shall we? T-Man recently lost a court case in New York, $355 million fraud ruling, and he's not allowed to do business in New York City. I think it's 3 years. Because of this, a trucker who is highly popular on social media, especially right now, his name is Chicago Ray, in case you want to check him out on X or something like this. Again, Chicago Ray has organized a trucker boycott of New York City. He's asking all truck drivers to join him in on this and support T-Man. T-Man, took this social media from Chicago Ray and blasted it out on his own social media. So it's become a national story now, a national boycott, if you will, and it continues to gain steam. So I want to talk this morning, if it's okay, about how much steam is this going to gain? How will this affect people moving forward? And what does this actually mean? So how much will it affect citizens in New York City? How many truckers are going to be involved, first of all? So you would have to be an owner-operator. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know some of y'all are truckers out there, but I think you would have to be an owner-operator to make a decision like this. Otherwise, you're going to be out of a job. So 16% of all truck drivers here in the United States of America are owner-operators. So 16%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's quite a few truckers out there, folks, could make the decision to say, hey, I'm boycotting New York City. You take that 16% and you begin to ask yourself, how many of those folks are actually supporting T-Man in 2024? And I think, or vote, period. Have faith and confidence in the voting system, period. This whole deal. How many are political? I think the number is probably going to be just under 10%. That's a spitball estimate on my part, folks. Total speculation on my part. But I think probably just under 10% of truck drivers are political, identify as conservative, and are owners and operators. And again, that doesn't sound like much, but that's a lot. New York City would be in trouble if these people come together like they're claiming to do and they boycott New York City, because the cost of goods. All right, let's put all the cards on the table here, son. The cost of living is already ridiculous. The cost of goods right now are insane. I don't think there might be somebody out there that would argue that, but I think we run most of those crazy people off a while back. Everybody understands that we're dealing with inflation and shrinkflation. I think I think we can agree on that. So imagine being in New York City, not having some of the food arrive, not having some of the other valuable goods arrive, things of this nature, not having some of the packages maybe arrive, or packages arriving way later than normal because of this boycott. So I think that it will affect the prices of things in New York City. And I don't know how many people in New York City, I'm not there, I don't know, but I don't know how many of those folks can absorb another huge hit on top of the already existing, again, inflation and shrinkflation. More importantly, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, I think this is a sign of things to come. Stick around, I'll explain what I'm talking about. If you don't mind, hit subscribe real quick. Help our channel grow, become a part of Prepper Nation. It would be appreciated. So here's the deal. If T-Man loses, God forbid, if T-Man were to lose in November, and it looks kind of strange, I think this is a sign of things to come. I think they're laying out the blueprint, which we'll talk about here in a minute. This is how conservatives are going to deal with something like that this time around. If T-Man wins in November, if he's allowed to run and he somehow wins in November, we already know what to expect, right? The flip-flops, the umbrellas, the trash can lids, they're all coming out. Everybody out there is getting their skinny jeans out and their little black t-shirts and their do-rags and stuff like this, and they're holding weapons upside down. We already know what to expect with that crowd, because they're not going to just take it sitting down. T-Man wins the election, becomes president again. Those people ain't having it. They've said as much. And you'll have celebrities threaten to leave the country like they always do, but they never end up leaving. I don't understand it. Conservatives will find a way to protest if T-Man loses this election. And again, it looks a little sketchy. You know what I'm saying? Um, but they're going to do it in a different way. I don't think conservatives are throwing skinny jeans on and black shirts and getting the trash can lids out. They're going to find another way to do it. Now, there are countless different ways to do it. Let me know in chat and comments what your way would be. Keep it PG-13. Just remember what platform we're on. But I think trucker protests would be one of the main things that we would see. Mass employee exodus, meaning, all right, how can I explain this? Conservatives make the world work. Conservatives keep this country ticking right along. The average blue-collar individual out here, how much longer are they going to be willing to work hard, be overtaxed, and watch their government kind of sell that money on down the road? Wasteful spending. How much longer are they going to watch people show up as undocumented Americans, right, and get a completely free ride while they're over here working 60 hours a week doing manual labor? I mean, eventually they're going to get tired of it. And, the ones that haven't already, a lot of them have already done this. I think we would see conservatives at this point, November, December, begin to move out of state and move to a conservative state, because the truth is, if we get Biden for 4 more years, or we get Michelle Obama, that's a cringe moment, or Gavin Newsom, conservatives are going to start looking at their finances. They're going to start looking at safety, and they're just going to say, hey, New York State is not safe anymore. Hey, California, it's finally time to go. I don't know what these folks have been waiting on, but maybe they got stuff tying them down, but they're going to reach this moment, I think, where they say, you know what? We have to protect what we have left. We have to go somewhere that is conservative, that's going to help us protect it. So I think there will be major fallout either way. And I've said this time and again here from the election. When it comes to the left, I think the fallout would be they're going to act out like children, because that's what they are. In many cases, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but in many cases, these people are like grown children, and they just don't know how to deal with being told no and being told, hey, you lost, son. Conservatives, I think it'll be more economic, because, again, I think conservatives realize they're the backbone of this country. Where does most of your tax revenue come from? It comes from the hardworking 9-to-5 jobs, conservative America. And they're sick and tired of it. I would have to think at this point they would be sick and tired of it. So we'll see if this boycott holds up. But I'll tell you this, and I called this back last year. You can go dig around. Maybe it's still online. I'm not sure. When we were talking about a certain beer company and this huge boycott, I said, conservatives will boycott it for a while, and then they will go crawling back, because this is what conservatives usually do. They'll get mad for a while. They'll get mad at the NFL. I'm never watching the NFL again. And then they crawl back. And we know they crawl back because the NFL has never seen higher numbers than they have right now. Okay. A lot of conservatives are crawling back to that beer company, which shall not be named. Hopefully y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you do. Boycotts only work if they're done long term. If people commit to them long term, boycotts can have huge repercussions. Take a look at Disney. They're losing money hand over fist. People are leaving them in droves. And I'm glad to see it, quite frankly. But when you begin a boycott and then you let someone off the hook, it didn't really do anything, and people don't take boycotts seriously after that. I mean, it is what it is. So you tell me, will this boycott actually work? Let me know in the comments. But getting back to it now, I think it, if anything else, it has provided a blueprint for what is to come. The election, let's be very clear on this. The election in November, should we have one? I know that's debatable for some of you folks. Does not have a positive outcome. There's no outcome in the November presidential election where all Americans come together, hold hands, start singing Kumbaya, and the fracture's too deep. Okay, so what this means is one half of the country is going to feel like they've been robbed. One half of the country, they're going to take on this victim mentality, and they're going to protest in some way. Again, we know how the left is going to protest. They've given that blueprint. Now we see conservative America kind of offering their blueprint. And we're seeing it around the world, quite frankly, with truckers, a lot of farmers in Europe, right now, they're doing the same thing. They're striking, they're boycotting, they're using their economic power in much the same way this guy's calling for, the trucker protest here in the United States. Because again, who wants to work hard? I know this applies to a lot of people watching right now. Who wants to work hard and barely make it because the economy is crushing you, while the government is just collecting a huge chunk of everybody's check that's working and redistributing it out to people that won't work? Who wants to continue to do that for 10, 20, 30 years? It gets old after a while. If two states of America feel like voting doesn't matter, they will find another way to be heard. And that's a serious discussion. I know some of you fall on this side of the fence, some of you fall on this side of the fence. Now, I am huge on voting local elections, sheriffs, school boards, things. I think that makes a lot of difference. Nationally, though, I'm not sure which side of the fence I fall on. I still vote kind of as a default option. But I'm not going to lie to you. I have started to wonder. I've been this way for years now. Does it actually matter? Because we see a lot of weird stuff happening during this, the national election process. A lot of Americans have lost faith in the process altogether. And when you lose faith in the process altogether, you're not going to trust the outcome either way. Again, even if we were to have pipe dream, right? If we were to have a clear cut, cross the board election and the left loses, they're not going to believe it was fair because they don't trust the process anymore. And if we have a clear cut, fair as can be election, again, pipe dream, and the right somehow, loses, they're not, at this point in the game, this stage in the game, they're not going to believe it was fair. So we're going to have millions of Americans who believe they're victims and they want to be heard. They believe in different things, but they want to be heard. The left acts out. The right looks to economics. And we know this now. So it is what it is. I mean, November is going to be nasty. And I think keep an eye on New York City. See how this boycott, see whether or not they stick with it, see how it affects folks in New York City, and understand that we could be looking at a nationwide boycott of sorts when it comes to trucking and farming post November election. Again, should we have one? Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Take care and God bless.